Well, good morning, everybody. It is Matt Sloane here, CEO of Skyfire Consulting, and we've got Ben Kroll, our Chief Operating Officer, on the line as well, too. So, Ben, good to see you, sir.
You too.
So, for those of you who don't know, actually, this is as good a time as anybody to tell. Ben actually lives in Denver now, so we don't get to see each other very much. Although we probably would have been social distancing anyway, even if you were still here in Atlanta. So, we are very much at least 6 feet apart right now.
That's the
A
truth.
couple thousand miles. So.
Right.
But hey, good morning, everybody. As I said, we today we wanted to talk about U.S. made drones and all the hype that's been out there. Talking about DJI leaving the U.S. and all that kind of stuff. And I guess let's address that first because yesterday in our newsletter we had talked about sort of this sentiment that's been kind of brewing about whether DJI is leaving the U.S. And they very much made it clear that they are not leaving the U.S. They're here to stay. And I think that's good news for all of us. Whether or not you choose to have their products, they're definitely a good presence here in the US market. So we were supposed to have Romeo Dersher and Chief Baker join us, but unfortunately at the last minute, they had a fire to put out, I guess pun intended on that one. But they did send a statement, so I wanted to share that with you guys real quickly here. If I can find my little screen here. Yeah, here we go. The statement from DJI says, DJI remains committed to supporting our customers around the world. We have made some organizational changes in order to adapt to today's challenging economic environment, but we remain open for business everywhere we operate. Our employees are working remotely in areas where offices must remain closed, and our sales, repair, and customer service networks continue to operate within the restrictions required by local and regional regulations. Our commitment to serve our customers with the products they want and need remains unchanged, and we are not going anywhere. So yeah, I think that's actually a really important point that they bring up. Of course, they did have some organizational changes. I don't think that's been a secret, but we should not read the tea leaves on that one. It's just related to the economy and the challenges of everything that's going on in the country right now. So glad to hear they're here to stay, and certainly have been using and flying the products now for 6 years now, right, Ben?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And just to kind of add on to what you were saying there, um, I'm glad that they're, some of the rumors that we heard are not true, that they are here to stay. They make a great product, and there's a lot of people that have, especially within public safety, that have benefited from their products. And, certainly you and I could go into story after story about how DJI has been a benefit to public safety. So
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
they literally created the industry that supports our business, and so I mean, I think that we'd all be kidding ourselves if we didn't see that. And yeah, there are certainly challenges. I think with Chinese company being so present here in the U.S., and we'll talk about that here in a little while. But yeah, no, I mean, particularly Romeo and Chief Baker have been good friends of ours for a long time, and we work really closely with them. We were very early enterprise dealers at DJI too, so yeah, big fans of the company. And yeah, like I said, not without challenges, but definitely glad that they're here to stay. And frankly, if they weren't, that would actually put hundreds of maybe thousands of public safety agencies in a real tricky spot too, that they might not be able to navigate out of. So as much as we are supporters of drones being used in public safety, regardless of the aircraft, that would be bad for everybody. So definitely glad that those rumors are not true. The other thing I want to bring up, and let's talk about this, and this will kind of lead us into the rest of what we wanted to chat about today. But there's a lot of stories going around about Chinese drones being used for coronavirus, and unfortunately in some of the fringe media, talking about the Chinese invasions and Chinese spying and all that kind of stuff. And these concerns are not new. They've been around for as much time as we've been working with DJI. People have been asking about it, but I think it's sort of taken on a sort of aggressive tone lately. So what do you make of all that, Ben?
Yeah, it's a lot to filter through. I mean, certainly it's kind of difficult to figure out. You hear things like potentially coming out of the administration that are like they're going to ban foreign-made drones or maybe just Chinese-made drones. That's kind of hard to just figure out what and why all of that is happening. But uh, I think that the as far as, again, it comes back to as far as, DJI goes, there's been a significant benefit to that. And I think that it's hard to, kind of figure out what's true and ultimately what's not, in the end.
Yeah, no, and I think one of the things we've seen over and over again too is DJI has really we're all talking about DJI, right? Because they're the biggest Chinese drone manufacturer. So let's just call it what it is. Have gone out of their way to prove that their data streams are secure. They've hosted it on U.S. servers. They've created the local edition where it doesn't leave the aircraft. They've created the government edition. So I mean, they've certainly tried to appease those people who have those concerns. I think there are some people that are going to have them regardless of what DJI does. But then I also think the flip side of that coin is, like, sometimes it shouldn't be that big of a concern, in my eyes. And somebody that we talked to, a friend in the on the federal side of the house, basically said, like, there's got to be some kind of risk matrix here. I mean, obviously, if you're flying over sensitive military bases or you're flying over sensitive production facilities or nuclear plants or whatever, I understand why there's a data security concern. If you're flying over a fire, like on a publicly accessible street that's on Google Earth, like, that data is not exactly secure, right? Anyway, so flying a drone over it, whether or not the Chinese government can see it, which DJI will tell you that they can't, but even if they could, what difference does that make? And so I think, sort of taking this all with a grain of salt and saying, like, yeah, look, if Lockheed Martin is in your backyard, sure, like, let's not fly drones over that facility. But if you're flying over a big wide open park, like, I mean, is there really that big of a concern? Would you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of the sentiment too that we've seen out there. And and I'm just going to be very straightforward here. We published something in Propeller Heads yesterday that was not, I think, totally accurate. And we heard from a lot of people that were like, look, this is like, DJI has like really helped, yeah. They've really done, a lot of good here. And that was good to hear. I was kind of glad that, we saw that sentiment and that understanding, and that there is just a lot of good out there right now that's happening amidst all this kind of, rumor and speculation and all of that.
Yeah, well, no, that is absolutely the case. So speaking of that, I wanted to actually show this to you guys too. So for those of you who aren't aware of it, this is DJI's disaster relief program. And so for our public safety agency clients, what this actually is that DJI is offering to help with equipment in the times of coronavirus. And then, there's various levels of support there, and sometimes you get to keep the stuff, and other times it's just loaner stuff. But they've actually given out 100 drones to 45 police, fire, and public safety organizations in 22 states. And I mean, I that's awesome, right? Like, no matter how you slice that, like, that is a service that, I know that our clients really appreciate, because they're all struggling with this, and not everybody has the budget to buy this stuff. And, being able to provide that to agencies that don't have that flexibility right now, I think is only helping. So I hope that people understand that, not everything has a nefarious meaning behind it. And I certainly don't think this is one of those things. But that said, on the flip side of that coin, there are a lot of people who have these concerns, and no matter what we say, no matter what DJI says, they just are not, they're not comfortable with a drone that's made in China. So let's talk about that for a minute. Unfortunately, there just aren't a lot of U.S. drone making companies. We certainly know, Ariane has been a player for a very long time. They were a Canadian company, now owned by FLIR. So I guess they are now an American company. So they have some very great aircraft, but not affordable to a lot of agencies. Nothing wrong with that. That's where they are in the market. Some of the other alternatives, Autel, Unique, both of them make good products. They're also both Chinese companies. A couple our friends over at Impossible Aerospace, are working on their US-1 aircraft. That's American made. And then, of course, we just acquired Viking UAS, who makes American made aircraft. And we'll talk about that here in a few. But yeah, I mean, what do you have this conversation as much as I do, Ben? I mean, what do you tell agencies? They're like, it's got to be American made.
Yeah, well, you mentioned a couple there. And the big one that you didn't mention is Skydio right now. And,
right, of course, yeah.
Skydio has an awesome drone. I don't know if anybody, excuse me, has out there watching right now has had the opportunity to fly a Skydio drone. The Skydio, I think it's a Skydio 2 we have, and it's awesome, right? Unfortunately, I'm in Denver, so we had our units shipped to Atlanta. So I don't know, Matt, can you talk about the Skydio for a minute?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I mean, I think it is truly an evolution in the drone industry. In fact, somebody put it this way, and I thought this was really good. It's an evolution in the drone industry, not a revolution in the drone industry. And I thought that was a really good way to put it. It's definitely a large step forward for certain things. I mean, their obstacle avoidance and object detection stuff. I've never seen anything like it, honestly. I mean, we were running through trees and it was dodging and all that kind of stuff, and that's super cool. I think there are some limitations to it. We tried it indoors; it's not amazing, but it's certainly for outdoor stuff is awesome. And I think we're all trying to find ways to incorporate that technology in what we're doing. So yeah, great aircraft, and it's like fairly inexpensive too. I mean, it's in the $1,000 to $1,500 range. So
yeah, and and we should share. There's a video that was done by Fritz over there at Skydio, who kind of explains where you look at that obstacle detection, and that's what I've heard. Unfortunately, I'm still kind of waiting to get my chance to fly it and play with it. Okay, thanks. But that's what I keep hearing, is that like if you picture like a law enforcement scenario, and an officer showing up on scene and just being able to deploy it quickly and have it follow the officer, and they don't have to do a whole lot of actually interaction with the screen and trying to fly it. Those kind of scenarios are pretty neat, and I think where it fits really well with public safety.
Yeah, for sure. And I think so. One thing we obviously make very clear from the beginning: DJI is not going anywhere. But there are a large number of agencies that we're hearing saying like, yeah, I'd love to buy DJI stuff. It would be a hell of a lot easier, but I just can't, because of my funding stream says I can't buy a Chinese drone, or whatever the case may be, or federal agencies. And so somebody asked me recently, like, what do you think? Who's going to be the big competitor to DJI that emerges? And I actually think there won't be one. In fact, just the opposite. I think there will be a lot of little competitors. I don't think anybody can do what DJI has done, honestly, and I mean that. Like the market share that they have, the sheer number of engineers, the sheer number of products that have come out of that company that are awesome products. I don't think anybody's ever going to be able to do that on that scale, and I don't necessarily think we need that. I mean, because of the way that they took over the market, there hasn't been a lot of opportunity to get competing products in there. And Romeo from DJI and I have actually had this conversation before about, they'd love to have some competition because they'd love to have that push them to do more, more and better stuff within DJI. So my feeling on it is that there's going to be a lot of small competitors that emerge, and not one big behemoth. But the other side of that coin is a lot of small competitors means it's more difficult for a public safety agency to decide, well, who do I go with? Another one I've seen recently is, or heard a lot from recently, is TerraView. They've got some solutions. Dragonfly is now back in the mix because they're working on some coronavirus specific stuff with software. There's a lot of players out there now. So how do we skin that cat, Ben? How do we evaluate?
Yeah, no, I'm just with you. Like for the industry, I think it's great for the industry. Just quick story. I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, Matt. You were there, but one of the things that I remember distinctly was the first time that I actually flew a drone. And as you know, my background is as a pilot and commercial pilot and flight instructor, and I've got thousands of hours in all kinds of aircraft. But you and I went to an event, and I think it was FDIC maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And on the way back, we stopped, and you were like, you should fly this drone. And I remember flying it. It was a Phantom.
You remember that?
Yeah, right. And it was a Phantom 3, I think.
Or 2 Vision Plus or something. I mean,
yeah. And I'd gone from like, there was, and this is, I just remember how easy it was to fly, right? And how simple it was, and how cool the interface was. And I just remember that moment. So like you said, I don't know that anybody's going to necessarily be able to do what DJI has done, but I do think exactly what you're saying, that it's good for the industry. Competition and more people trying to figure out more that we can do, especially within public safety, is just good for an industry as a whole. It's one of the things that we talk about as a company over and over again, and that's that we give out information, as much information as we have. We don't charge for that. We are here to provide a service to people. And part of that service is just giving you the correct information and making sure that you have it. And we believe as a company and as an organization that actually helps move the industry forward. So
the old cliche, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean,
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
it's so true. I think as true in this industry as any other industry. So I totally agree with you. Our friend Colin Gwynn, we were with him recently at a launch event at CES, and he was saying for the Doosan aircraft, and he was saying, he's like, up to this point, like every drone that's come on the market to compete with DJI has essentially been some version of the Mavic or some version of the Phantom. Maybe in a different form factor or size or whatever. But the point is they've all sort of looked the same. And that's where the market's going to get fragmented going forward. Is like, yep, DJI on the, like, from the consumer, even the smallest consumer, drone, all the way up to like sort of mid-range professional aircraft. And you could argue, certainly in the higher range of professional aircraft, but they have a very specific mission set. They can carry a thermal camera, they can carry zoom cameras. When you get into stuff like, 50-mile flights or the 43-mile flight we did down in the Virgin Islands with Doosan's aircraft, there's just not a DJI drone built for that. And that's okay. And I don't think there has to be. They don't have to be everything for everyone. That's a market that, frankly, DJI is not going to make a lot of money serving that market. I mean, because they'll probably sell 50 of those rather than the 2 million Mavics or whatever that they've sold. So I get it. But that actually gives an opportunity to companies like Viking, the one that we just recently acquired a majority stake in, to build some really specific stuff. And that's something too, it's another conversation we've had recently with all of our friends at the various drone companies have called and said, hey, we saw you guys bought a drone company. So like, whoa, what's that look like? Should we expect competition from you guys? And I said, no, absolutely not. Like, the goal of this is not to compete with DJI. It's not to compete with Skydio. That's not frankly, we have no interest in that. And if we try to play that game, we're going to lose. That's not what we are interested in.
Sorry to interrupt you there. I wanted to point out another one we haven't talked about is flyability in the Helios, right? Yeah. And we've been working with that. That is so cool. If you guys are not aware of flyability in Helios, they make a drone that's essentially has a carbon fiber cage around it. And they came out with their first version a few years back. And we got to test it extensively and work with it a lot. And it's very specialized for inspection. And they have a new version out now, which is even better than the first one. And some of the stuff that they're doing with inspection, and it's so specialized, but it's so important to somewhere like, I think like a refinery where you have to inspect a stack, right? Those kinds of things are just so cool. And I think that you're right, that there's a real market and a real need for some real specialized kind of niche style aircraft out there.
Yeah, no, and certainly our goal is not to go build another Mavic or build another Matrice. Like, we've got customers coming to us. Unfortunately, I can't tell you about any of these projects yet, but customers coming to us and going like, I need a drone that will do this. And we're like, yeah, that doesn't exist. So let's build it for you. And that's, that's what we are trying to do with Viking. We're trying to be the boutique, drone specialist here. We're solutions providers, and we always have been, honestly. So, we're just taking solution providing to another level now, being able to offer our own hardware. So just want to say hi to James Guidry. I saw you chimed in on the Facebook page and said, how's it going? So it's going well. Ben and I are both stuck in our white voids here. So otherwise great, but thanks for joining us. So yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit about drone use and coronavirus. A lot of people have been talking about this, and certainly we don't want to rehash all of this, but I think the most obvious use case that people have been really paying attention to is people flying Mavics around with speakers on them going, hey, you guys are closer than 6 feet, or, telling everybody reminding people to social distance and things like that. So what do you make of that? Like, is that a good idea? I mean, what?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, honestly. I mean, that's just candid for me. I mean, you look at some of these things, and I know the backlash has been Big Brother, right? Um, and I know, like, as Americans, we're pretty, um, kind of on its face, pretty opposed to that. And then it kind of strikes those kinds of authoritarian Big Brother types thing. I think that's the image of it. So my question is, does it really help? Is that a thing that you send the drone out? Are you really able to help people social distance more by just encouraging them, using the aircraft? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, well, look, I there's a phrase that I've been very fond of for quite a long time, back to my CNN days, and we were, always trying to out in the field, just trying to cobble things together and make things work. There's a phrase that the phrase I love is just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I think that really applies in some of these cases. Certainly, I applaud the fact that police chiefs and fire chiefs and EMS guys, everybody out there in the field is trying to come up with the most creative solutions they possibly can. And by all means, I support that. But I do question, like, is that really necessary? Is that going to create unnecessary panic or mistrust of drones when we've gone, out of our way for the last 6 years to get people comfortable with the idea that we're not there to spy on you, right? We're responding to a public safety emergency, and the drone is there to help. So, I mean, I think that there's a risk of that, like you said, Big Brother, and now all of a sudden you see a drone flying around, you're going to be worried, like, are they spying on me, or am I actually 6 feet apart? So I think that's part of it. I think the other thing is to, in our conversations with some pretty high up people at the FAA, we're around, can we do this stuff from a legal standpoint? And yeah, if it's just flying around telling people go back to your houses, that brings up a question of, are you flying over people? And do you have a waiver to do that? Are you operating under a COA? Is this really life or, danger to life or limb? So I'm not sure that that's legal. I think that's part of it. The other part, is beyond line of sight, certainly. And if you're, trying to do things like, flying PPE across town, the question that the FAA said was like, can you do that with a vehicle? There's no traffic anymore, so we can't complain about that. So, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I think we also have to remember that there's aircraft flying in the air. There's people underneath these drones that are, you're at risk on top and below. So I don't know. Look, I'm all about pushing technology forward and getting the biggest bang for your buck out of it. But at some point, I think we have to take this, a little bit in stride. And certainly, the last thing I would want is for anybody to damage the credibility of a public safety agency trying to use drones and do something stupid and crash and make it bad for everybody else who's using this stuff effectively. So I don't know. I can see both sides of the issue. Definitely use the tools you got in the most creative way you can, but also, like, don't do anything stupid and make it bad for the rest of us. So that's my feeling.
Yeah, and be aware of the perception with it, and
yeah,
how other people see that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, perception is reality with all this stuff too. And I don't know how many public safety agencies you and I have talked to where they're like, yeah, the citizens aren't cool with it. They think we're spying on them. I mean, we saw a great example of that is, LA Fire Department started their drone program, and they're like, yeah, wildfire, we're gung ho, let's do this. And then LAPD said, yeah, we want to get in on that too. And everybody's like, oh, no, sorry, you're going to spy on us. So like, okay, well, the fire department also has these things. I mean, ultimately, LAPD has started a pretty impressive drone program as well too, and that's something we tell everybody from the get-go is, like, be honest with your citizens and be like, this is what we're using it for. This is what we're not using it for. We cannot see through your windows with a thermal camera. Like, physics doesn't work that way.
Right. Yeah. And that's pretty, just to kind of echo that. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. It's pretty simple. We've seen the agencies that have the most success are the ones that are most transparent with their drone use. The ones that are least transparent have the least success. I mean, it's just that simple. You look at someone like Chula Vista Police Department, who has been transparent through the whole process, and has a website up. And I don't know if we can share that, but that might be a cool thing to share.
Yeah.
If you look at the data coming out, for those of you that don't know, Chula Vista has a drone program, essentially, where they run the drone as what they call DFRs, drone as first responder. And the data is absolutely compelling, and the way that they're able to, oh yeah, there you go, awesome. The way that they're able to increase the safety of their officers and their community using this program. I mean, it's just, the data is compelling. Every time I look at it, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
They've just been so transparent, from the beginning, that I just think that that's a model for the rest of the country.
Yeah, and what's so cool about this, you can go to this site anytime, and it's updated live, so you can see. It says, let me scroll up a little bit here. It says that the last response date was April 21st, which was yesterday at 3:42 p.m. So all these statistics are updated live. The drone has been used since October 2018, so about a year and a half now. And in a year and a half, they've done 2,109 missions. That's like more than every other one of our clients combined. So 2,100 missions, 278 times that the drone assisted in an arrest. The 400, this one blows my mind. So 493 times. So about a quarter of the time that drone went out, it was able to prevent Chula Vista police from dispatching a patrol unit. And when you think about that from a patrol officer standpoint, that's 493 times they weren't potentially putting their lives in danger from, getting out of their vehicle on a highway and, potentially getting struck by a car or getting shot at, or, that's almost 500 times that didn't have to happen because of the drone. The drone was first on scene 921 times, so almost half the cases, and the average response time was 158 seconds. That blows my mind. So, that's, I think, really interesting data there. And then over here, you get a really good look at how they're using the data, or sorry, what types of calls. So you can see that 37% of the time it was disturbance by a person. Let's see here. Domestic violence was 21%. Traffic collisions, 15%. So 15% of the time, traffic collisions, that's actually still the place where police officers are in the most danger, is when they're out responding to traffic collisions. Psych evaluations, it was dispatched 15% of the time, and then assault 10% of the time. So a lot of those, in fact, all of those are potentially dangerous situations. All of those also, to your earlier point, Ben, these are all responses to 911 calls. So this is not out patrolling the streets. This is not spying on you. This is, somebody called 911, and this is one of the units that's responding. And so, to your point, like this is where being transparent, anybody can look at this website. People know exactly what the police department's up to. So, that's as transparent as it gets, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And just so everyone knows, I guess the other piece of this that I want people to know is, Chief Kennedy and Captain Salee at Chula Vista, and Fritz Reber, who Captain Salee calls the father of DFR, or his first responder, who kind of helped come up with all of this. They've just done a great job of being an example for the rest of the country. And I would just encourage other agencies out there that want to adopt a program like this to, by all means, jump in. And if you have questions about it, we're here to answer your questions and kind of tell you, where the FAA stands with this, and can connect you with other folks that are doing similar things. And we just think, as an industry and, as a society, like this is something that, as we've seen, so far, is just really beneficial.
Yeah. And to that point, we also did our last Facebook Live completely on this subject, almost 30 minutes talking just about this. So if you guys didn't see that one, it's on our YouTube channel, or you can find it here on Facebook. But I mean, it's, all this stuff blows my mind. I think, the thing where Ben and I come to this is we just really want this technology to be adopted by the people who really need it. So, I want to sort of wrap things up today by just echoing that sentiment as we have for a long time now. Just saying thank you to, all of our public safety men and women out there on the front lines, police, fire, EMS. Everybody always forgets about EMS, but as an EMT, it's close to my heart. Emergency management, all of our healthcare workers. You guys are just doing an amazing job, all out there putting your lives in danger from the usual stuff that your lives are in danger from, but also on top of that, coronavirus. And just thank you for protecting me and my family and my team here at Skyfire. I just, you guys are awesome. And in whatever way we can support you, whether it's through, a service that you pay us for, or you just want to call and talk and ask questions, that's what we're here for. So Ben, I know you certainly feel the same way.
Yeah, I don't have really anything I mean, you said it well. Just thank you, everybody. And we're here to help. And if it's just information, we'll get on the phone and talk to you all day long. if we can help. If it's a service, obviously we're here for that too. But ultimately, I think the message is, from today, from us, is just thank you all. Thanks for being there for your communities. And if there's anything that we can do to support you, obviously, we're here.
Awesome. Well said. And yeah, I just wanted to say thank you again for all of you guys watching this. We have 24 viewers right now, which is awesome. So I think we had 2 watching live last time, but a bunch of people watched after the fact, but really glad to have everybody here. Some upcoming topics that we're going to be talking about. We're going to get our good friend Mike Bryant from Skydis Group. So we're going to talk about the sort of the tactical use of drones and how to use this from the tactical side of things. We'll get our friends from Darley to talk about some of the stuff they're working on. And any other topics that you guys want to see, certainly comment here, send us an email, tweet, text, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever else you can think of. One of us is probably on those platforms. Ben and I are too old for TikTok, I think. So anyway, we'll find it if you send it in. But thank you guys again so much for watching. Thank you all for helping keep our communities safe. And we'll see you next time.